Something stirs within the shadows across Middle-earth. Eyes watch patiently with foul intent from hidden spaces. Mouths whisper from darkness to corrupt the minds of the just. Hands reach with greedy fingers from unwatched places to grasp for power and wealth. Who will raise their own light against the spread of this darkness? Who will stand against the unknown danger that creeps ever closer? To where shall we look for heroes?
Mr. Barnabas, sir, Nob called breathlessly as he ran into the common room of the prancing pony. There's been another robbery, this time at the stables. Barliman ran out of the kitchen at the sound of Nob's voice, his words rushing out in a torrent.
You don't say? That's a bad business with all these black-hearted men about, Bree. I do hope that Bob's all right. No, but I forget he's off helping his old nan, so he wouldn't be at the stables, would he?
A gravelly voice spoke up from the end of the room.
A robbery, you say? Anything valuable taken?
This was Bill Fernie, who was hanging about more and more at the pony these days, talking to all manner of folk at odd hours. Barliman did not like the man. It was a comb. Bob bought it from one of those men that's always lurking about the town selling odds and ends, Nob answered. He asked me to check on it. Bill surprised Barliman by slapping his hand on the table and shouting,
Skullduggery! I'll post a reward for its return myself!
After a long journey, you've arrived in Bree, the chief village of Breeland, just before dark, and looking for a bit of food and a bed for the night. Upon entering the town, you instead find closed shutters and side-eyed glances from folks who hurry past you on the way to their own beds. The setting sun casts dark shadows over the village square. In the distance, you hear the town gate being closed. From the darkness around you, hooded figures emerge, brandishing clubs menacingly in their hands.
Let's see what valuables they got,
one of the brigands tells the others as they close a circle around you. You and your companions are not so easy pickings, though, as you put hands to your own weapons.
I've searched for your trail.
He stands not alone.
Mine is the choice of Luthien.
Boss wants us to get back to the hideout.
My Lord Denethor.
I'll be back, you'll see.
A red sun rises.
You win. For now.
May I offer a song to ease your troubles?
Next time.
Look before you leap, I always say.
For Rivendell!
Don't mind me. Make your move. Yeah.
Away with you!
Get more of the boys to help.
My arrow flies.
Away with you!
Scarecrow forward, lads. Ah!
In the dim light, you make out a notice affixed to a wooden post.
Good folk of Bree, the robberies and whatnot of late cannot further be abided. I offer a reward for the return of all items gone missing, so I can get them to their rightful owners. See B. Fernie at the Prancing Pony.
You find the place quickly. A bustling inn in the center of town. The proprietor, Barlaman Butterbur, directs you to a darkened corner where Bill Fernie sits, a tankard in his hands. He doesn't appear to be much, a nervous man with a shifty gaze. He tells you that men have been arriving in town selling trinkets, only to have those same items stolen soon after.
No strange bods and bits, with not much value,
he says.
As an upright citizen of Bree, I feel it's my duty to get these items back to their rightful owners. I got money, but I don't got muscle, see?
When you offer him the item you recovered in the square, He smiles and tosses a few coins on the table.
The citizens of Bree thank you for your assistance.
Bill tells you piously, though you suspect a hint of sarcasm in his voice.
There's plenty more coin if you can find the rest.
You aren't interested in the money, but can smell that there's something more afoot here than at first notice. You might be able to help the good folk of Bree if you continue to investigate.
Bob the stable boy was robbed the other day. You can visit the stables and ask him about it.
Bill informs you.
Or you can check out the abandoned manor at the edge of town. There's something suspicious about that place.
The boys gave Jed the name Stick because of his lanky frame and scrawny arms. Still, he had come to like the name, just as the boys came to respect his leadership. Even Ratchet noticed and made Stick his lieutenant, sending him to lead the boys on raids. Stick liked the responsibility, so when Ratchet told him to watch the stables, watch he did, though he and the boys got bored watching the town sleep. Bob the Hobbit, who tended the stables, returned after dark. He'd be asleep not long after, as he did most nights. Stick had watched the stables many times before this. The rest of the evening passed uneventfully. Earlier, Stick had to shush the boys as they shared a bit of the local drink with one another. But then the night grew eerily quiet. It was just past midnight when they saw a party of strangers approach the barn. Outsiders, no doubt. That could be trouble.
Let's greet the newcomers, boys.
Stick whispered to the men around him.
Time to knock heads.
You decide to search the stable. With the lateness of the hour, it's silent, but for the occasional swish of a horse's tail. Suddenly, a low rumble begins to sound from a pile of hay. You approach cautiously, as the sound becomes a snort. The source is a sleeping hobbit, just visible under the straw. He jumps with a start, visibly frightened by your intrusion.
It's just me, Bob.
The young hobbit stammers out.
I work here in the stables. With the horses,
he says, as if that wasn't already obvious. You tell Bob your mission to find the bandits and recover their stolen wares.
They stole my comb I bought my old Nan,
he explains.
I was going to give it to her today when it came up missing. I bought it from a tall man up Archit Way.
His expression changes as he holds up a pointing finger.
That man! There!
You turn to see a tall, skinny man and several hooded companions with him.
What do we have here, fellas?
He asks them as they each pull a cudgel from their cloaks.
Don't mess with the Northgate gang!
I'll show you not to mess with Bob.
Before your stroke fell.
Stick your nose somewhere else.
Take that! Here, take it back. We'll teach you a lesson.
The enemy is upon us.
You'll get yours. Careful.
Driven down!
give up!
Ratchet counted his money one last time before dividing it up in piles to give to the boys. They had done well. It had been his idea to sell the items they acquired in the Barrow Downs, and his idea to steal them back again once sold, so they could do it again in another town. This was his best scheme yet, and would keep his gang rolling in coin. Orders in the Barrow Downs were to turn in all the best bits, but Ratchet saw that he and the boys were only allowed to keep trinkets for themselves. He was too greedy to let that go on, so he gathered the fellas he considered the most like-minded and stole away with the best loot they could take from the camp. On the road, he'd proven to be a natural leader, so the boys made him boss of their own gang. There he came up with this scheme to fleece the good people of Bree, and soon he'd do the same to folks in Archet and Staddle. A loud creak from outside snapped him from his task. He signaled to the boys. "Let's have a look-see."
Your fellowship arrives outside what appears to be an abandoned manor house. It's seen far better days. You make out a dim light from inside, giving hint that the house is not as abandoned as it first appears. Slowly, carefully, you make your way onto the wooden stair to the main entrance. As you reach for the door, one of your party steps on a rotting timber with a loud creak. Everyone pauses as you look at one another, knowing that you are now discovered. Sure enough, from within the house comes a set of voices. Then the forms of men and hobbits clad in hoods come bursting forth from all around. Their leader, a large man with his face obscured in shadow, emerges with a laugh.
Nobody's home, see?
They clearly want you to leave, but you clearly came here for answers. Each of them carries a club or cudgel, brandished with hands jeweled with ill-gotten gems. These are the men you've been looking for.
My blade has seen many battles.
We'll teach you a lesson.
Crack some skulls.
That'll clean your clock. So tough for you. Oh, give up.
I give up!
Stick your nose somewhere else.
A full pouch by the looks of it. We'll teach you a lesson.
you've wandered into some trouble.
For Rivendell!
Take it!
That'll clean your clock.
Crack some skulls.
Bill Fernie was worried. His contacts were pushing him to find and return the missing items stolen from the Barrow Downs camp. He had no idea why they wanted these specific items or what they would be used for, but experience had taught him that his contacts were not the kind of people you crossed lightly. That stupid Ratchet was behind all this. He just knew it. But he didn't have the muscle to take on the gang directly. That's when he came up with a reward idea. He only needed the items on his list back. No more, no less. So, if he could get them back at the loss of a few coins, or get some locals to bash a few of the gang's heads without having to take them on directly, so much the better. He had friends who would deal with Ratchet, but first he needed to get the items back on the road to the Barrow Downs. Otherwise, they'd send someone else to take care of things, and that would be the end of old Bill Fernie. Bill wasn't about to let that happen.
Having recovered the missing items, you make your way back to the Prancing Pony, only to find some rough-looking folk surrounding Bill Fernie's table, while Barlaam Butterbur looks on nervously.
I don't want no trouble in my inn,
he tells them defiantly, though the tremble in his chin betrays his fear.
Stay out of this if you know what's good for you and keep.
One of the men snarls.
Fernie here has some explaining to do, setting the whole town after us.
Fernie swallows hard, but then notices your arrival.
Ah! My associates!
He smiles a reptilian grin as he waves his arm to indicate your group.
Perhaps you should take this up with them.
The men turn as patrons in the bar divide into folks who wish to hide and those looking for a good excuse for a brawl. Someone smashes a bottle, and pandemonium ensues.
Stand down or fall down. My arrow flies. Stand down or fall down.
Not so
aloe flies!
Looking for trouble?
Will you be doing anything?
You've wandered into some trouble.
I need a light.
My aloe flies!
Let's have at it!
My aloe flies!
You would die before your stroke fell.
The enemy is upon us.
For Rivendell!
Hand over the loot.
You would die before your stroke fell.
With the last crash of a bottle and the thump of a knocked-out tough falling to the floor, the fight ends.
That Bill Ferny's a bad man, I tell you.
Barlaman Butterburst shouts. He rises from behind the bar, knob clutched in one arm protectively, and a thick wooden club in the other.
He's run off! If you want a reward, you need to track him down to get it.
Before you can respond, the front door opens, ringing a small bell set above it. The tall man you fought at the ramshackle manor comes in, hands over a large bloody gash across his belly, his skin pale as moonlight. He looks first to Barlaman, and then to you and your companions, before falling to the ground, stone dead.
Murder!
Gasps Barlaman as he stands over the body.